Okay, hello. I thought I'd make a recording from a different angle this time on some of this stuff. And most of the time when I talk about tuning, I always get bogged down in the mapping part. And the mapping part is finding targets. And that starts with A4 numbers and the fourth. I've got my mouse here. That's tune A4, then measure the fourth partial, the eighth partial, the second partial. And then this is the fourth A4 number, which is something you can read about on my website. And then the rest of it is finding my A's. And that's A3, A2, that's the setting for A2. Here's the setting for A1 I found, and my setting for A0 I want to use on this little Kawaii K2 little vertical studio thing. Okay, and while we're in the mid-range here, I want to show you that I also map. This is D4 and this is E4. And these are the D's and E's in the third octave. That's the setting I want to use for D3, and this is the setting I want to use for E3. Okay, so those are all my targets that I'm going to use for the mid-range, and these are also using the fourth partial, by the way. All of these in the lower half are in the fourth partial, including A4. Okay, the next group that I'm going to look at, is the treble, which is A5, A6, and A7. And what's been interesting here is I've recently started using the triple octave fifth for my A7. And so that's what these numbers are. And the ones we're going to use for the spreadsheet are the this 3/7, this 2/6, 12/6, I mean, for A6, and this but for A7, I have the 42 cent setting, but that's not the one I'm going to use for this this example here. We're going to use the triple octave plus fifth setting for A7. And by the way, the 4 octave setting would be 53, and this is what I've been working on. Is this high treble tuning. So I used to just use the eighth partial setting, the triple octave for A7, and I would just stick that in there, and it always worked. But I'm wanting to go higher now, and so this is the fourth partial. No, this is the eighth partial. I'm sorry. This is the A7 number, 35 point. Well, I guess that's 8, but since I'm going to use the triple octave plus fifth, that's this number here. And on this particular piano, I must have thought it was too much, so I backed it up 2 cents, but that's another discussion for another time. But what I want to show you is how all this stuff, once you find the mapping, once you have your settings, how they go into the spreadsheet. So and how the spreadsheet works. I'm not going to get too involved in the spreadsheet. I'm just going to show you how it works. And we're going to do this pretty quick, pretty fast, and I'm going to leave this screen up here as long as I can, but eventually I'll be covering that up so that we can look at different aspects of the spreadsheet. But anyway, for now, we're going to do it this way. Okay, and so I'm going to start entering my targets into the spreadsheet, and they go up here. See the word targets? How about that? It's even labeled for us. So minus 32, minus 8.4, minus 2.7, and then 0.9, and then the A4 number here, okay, 8.3, and then the A5 number is 3.7, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And then the A6 number is 12.6, and the A7 number we're going to use is 44.7. Okay, what I wanted to talk about here was these numbers here. Now, I've been interested in the 12th, of course, to see where that would put my A5. And on this particular piano, I would have put it at 3.5. But I ended up liking the way it sounded at 3.7 a little better. So this is a little bit of a wide perfect 12 for those of you who are interested. And the same way down here, I used the 19th. I measured for the 19th. That would be using D4 as a reference note. And with the set at A6, played D4 and stopped the lights, and that would have been at 11.9. But I liked it sounding better, a little higher. 12.6 was where I left it. So there we are. Now here we have all our targets entered into the spreadsheet. I'm going to cover this up for a second so that we can watch the spreadsheet do its magic. Okay, I'm going to click this big blue button, and here's where the spreadsheet does its thing. Okay, I'm going to click to the polys, and immediately the spreadsheet will find us put a tuning together. Now, I'll show you that the red bars are the A's. Okay, A4, A3, A2, A1, A0. And this is all the fourth partial region. Okay, so we start then at A#4 here, and this is A5, A6, and A7. Now, let's go back a little bit to the to our mapping, and then let's look at the treble by itself. Let's make sure that the spreadsheet got these right. Well, okay, the A5 number in the spreadsheet should be 3.7. Okay, these arrows allow me to move it up or down, and these blue arrows, by the way, are the D sharps. And I should probably also mention this too. The blue bars, and you see these little numbers underneath, the blue bars represent the differences between the notes. So if, for instance, and these numbers don't exactly line up, but that's the 8.4 is the setting for A1, 2.7 for A2, and the 0.9 for A3, and so forth. And these are the D's and the E's. This is the D's, that's the D4, and this is E4, and this is D#4. This is D3, E3, and D#3. We'll get to that more when we balance out the mid-range, but balance those fifths in those two octaves. But that's what the blue bars mean, and that's what the red bars means, and that's what these buttons mean, or these arrows mean. And the arrows are buttons, so I can move this 3.7 up or down, but I'm going to stick with my mapping. Sometimes the spreadsheet doesn't quite get the let's see if I can, doesn't quite get the these just right, so we'll bear with me for my screen working here. Okay, so, and 12.6 is what it should be for A6. Okay, now, since I'm working with the triple octave fifth, I'm not going to get into too much in the spreadsheet, but one of the things that I'm really concerned with, not concerned with, but working on, is the area around this D4, pardon me, this D7 area. And of course, this is the D# setting, but that's a curve up here that I'm wanting to sort of have more of this kind of a shape than I am what we just saw. So I'm going to clear this and go back to the original, what the spreadsheet would have gotten us, or would have put. Okay, let's go back to 3.7. The straight poly chart would have been like this. Okay, but I'm going to raise up D#7, and it'll affect the shape of this curve up here more to my liking. Of course, you don't have to do this, but this is what I've been doing. I just thought I'd show you what I've been doing. Okay, so let's go back now to the tenor. So we've got the treble, 3.7, 12.6, and 44.7, 3.7, 12.6, and 44.7. Okay, so that treble is basically all ready to go. But here we have the mid-range. Now, this is what is fun about balancing these fifths with the spreadsheet. I've got first of all, A3 is correct, and 0.9 is correct, and not all of the A's are correct. But what I'm going to be doing here is working with the D sharps to have the tuning pass through the D's and E's settings in this third and fourth octave that I mapped so carefully when I was doing the mapping. So on the spreadsheet, or on my mapping, I came up with 3.5 and 4.8. How about that? Those are, Polly and me agree. All right, and the next one here is the third octave. So instead of minus 1.5, I'm at for 1.3. So let's use this blue button, this arrow, and raise up D3 to where they match. And we have 8 here. Okay, but what did that do to this area here? Well, it changed that curve. So here's where we do more adjusting. This D# button here allows me to tweak that shape of that curve, and you see what that did here? And moving the D#, I'm raising the middle point of that octave. So I'm looking for a shape here that I like, and that will work. Okay, so 3.5, 4.8, I'll take that. And see, 3.5, 4.8, and this is 1.3 and 8. How about that? Perfect. Okay, so let me do one little tweak in there and see that. All right, so we're good. And if we wanted to fill this back out here, we can see the whole chart. All right, so now we're going to, yes, we're going to copy this over to the edit rounding page and deal with some round off errors, if there are any you want to clean up. Okay, these are round off errors. You know, when numbers get rounded off, if it's an odd number and if it's 3.5, it'll round up to 3.4. Probably it'll round up to 4, but if it's 4.5, it'll round down to 4. Well, this is a way we can correct these round off errors. Now I'm going to press some keyboard strokes here, and it don't really matter what they are now. That's for a later discussion on the spreadsheet. But I've cleaned up a few of these. These right here in the middle don't really mean that much. You'll see little blips like that in tunings all the time, and when you look at the numbers. Okay, now I'm going to come on up, and I've got some work I can do in here to clean this out. So let's do that kind of quickly. Okay, and I'm going to raise that one up to a 6. Okay, see if there's anything up here. Let's make that. Okay. All right, now let's go back down here, and I can move that and move this one. Oops. If I could get my button punching right, I would be able to demo this thing. Okay, we're finding our way through. All right, so there we have it. This is the smoothest version I could come up with for the time and how that works. And now I pop this over to the next tab on our chart, and let's clean out this and clean out this. And now let's go back to the tuning that we have here, the piano that we have. I'm not going to I'll just put test in here. And then this is a Kawai. K-2, and now I want to add it to the database, and now it's added to the database, so we can look at that in the database. It put it at the bottom, so there it is. But let's move it to the top. Oh, wait. Oops. Okay, there it is at the top. And now let's say I want to put that into the AccuTuner. I'm going to open up the Piano Manager software. And I already have it in here. Let's find another tuning in here. Let's find another one. Okay, let's do this one instead. Okay, so now I want to install this. I want to page 1. So File, and then Import. And I want to import it from this tab, from Export to Piano Manager. So Export to Piano Manager. And there's the K2. Now if I wanted to see this tuning in Piano Manager, there it is. I don't know if you're seeing all of this, but I can sort of make this a little bigger if you're interested. And now it's all ready to go into the AccuTuner. So I can dump that into the AccuTuner, and that's what this tuning looks like in the AccuTuner, ready to use to tune the piano. Okay, that's one. And what I'm going to do now is we're going to do another one, just so you can see how this goes with a little less explanation this time. That's always good. Okay, so what's this next one? Okay, this is a Boston 178. Okay, so let's get rid of the targets. And I'm just going to sort of shut up here a little bit, but you can see everything over here is the same. These are the A4 numbers. That's the 4th partial, the 8th partial, the 2nd partial. And those are more used for mapping, except for this 4th partial, and that ends up being the A4 number. Okay, so we have the A3 numbers, and there's D4 and E4. Here's A2 with D3 and E3, then the A1 number, A0, and back to this perfect 12th. People are interested. Okay, originally I think it was 3.1. On this piano I liked it at 3.5, a little sharper. And I forget what this number was, but I went with 15.7 for A6. And then for A7, I tuned it at 59.4. So for this particular piano, I thought A7 should be higher than the triple octave fifth. But for this demo, we're just going to stick with the triple octave fifth number for this one. So when you can see the difference between the triple octave there at 45 on this piano, the triple octave fifth at 55, about 10 cents sharper, obviously. And then, but where I put it was here. So I'm going to go ahead and enter in these targets into the spreadsheet, and we'll go from there. Okay, minus 32.7. Minus 9.1, minus 3.8, 1, 9.7, 3.5, 15.7, and 55.4. Okay, now I'm going to pop it through the magic decipherer. We'll get us a tuning here, and again I'm going to start by looking at the treble first, and the treble will be 3.5. Here it's 3.2, so let's make that correct. 3.5, and then here 15.6 needs to go up 1, and 55.4, that's correct. I want to adjust this curve a little bit so that it doesn't have quite that tail I see there. And this also raises the midpoint of this octave, raises D sharp a little bit. I didn't notice, and maybe we can, if you want to go back, you can see about how much I raised. This is the D sharp number, this is the A number, and this is C8, by the way. Okay, like I said, things don't line up perfectly on this, but this one, these blue arrows go for that. These red arrows go for that number, and these blue arrows go for this T sharp, and these red arrows go for that A, and so forth. Okay, so now let's go back into the mid-range. We've got 2.8 that we want to use, and 4.3. Okay, big difference between 2.8 and 4.4. Let's see how this one works. Okay, we need to lower D4 down to about 2.8. You'll get a kick out of what that's doing there. Ooh, looks scary, doesn't it? Okay, but have no fear. Okay, then the next number we need to change is, let's just go for this D3. Instead of 2.3, we want 1.8. So we need to raise this D3 up to where we mapped it. Okay, and now that affected what we did here. So let's go back, and we're looking at 2.8. Okay, and then we still have a little bit of a glitcho there. So let's get that curve looking a little better. All right, so now where are we? 2.8 and 4.3. Well, let's see if we can raise this to get that 4.3, 2.9, 4.2. That's 1/10 of a cent on either side, which is fine, because the actually it's D sharp. It's what we're adjusting. So D sharp would be the same for those. Okay, I want to see if I can get a little bit more of a, there we go, shape down there. And how is our D3 and D4? Okay, that one's just off by a 1/10. Okay, so we have 1.9 and 1.1. That's 1 out each. So let's see if we can move this one down a little bit more. 2.9. Oh. 4.2 and 2.8. Okay, let's back this up. Okay, 4.2 as opposed to 4.3, 2.8. So let's see if we can lower this down. Oh, I think we're about where we're going to be, as close as we're going to get on this. Okay, so there is our curve. That's the tuning for this one. Now, moving to edit, see if I've got any round off numbers I can tweak. And let's do this. Okay, and then this one we can tweak. I'm going to leave that one alone. It doesn't matter. And up here, I can leave that one. And oh, by the way, when I'm doing this, I never want to mess with, if I don't have to, the D and the D sharp and the E in these areas, in these octaves, because I've taken a lot of time to map those, and to have a little something like that doesn't really matter, to have it go 3/10 and then 4/10 and then work its way up. But what I don't like here is this, not really don't like it, it's just I would like to have a 7 in there instead of 2 6s. Let's see if I can clean that up just a little bit. See what we do up here. Okay, that might be a little better. I don't know if we can hear that or not. I doubt it. Okay, let's go back down to the bass. I see a little something I can do down there in that bottom octave there. That's so much better, Bob. That was just going to make all the difference in the world. Okay, so now we're back up to the treble. I like everything about that. Let's make that. Okay, that's good. And on down, let's move these. Okay. Okay, I'm going down to that 5th octave. See what we can do there. Well, again, I don't really know if we're going to be doing much good, but we can sort of make a more gradual rise there. Okay, we can get rid of this for now because we're done with that. This will give us a chance to see the whole. All right, so pop to Export Manager, and here's another test. And what is this band? This is Boston, I think. Boston 178, is that what it was? Boston 178, yes. Okay, add it to the database. It's at the database, but I don't care about looking at that now. I want to get it into the AccuTuner. Okay, so let's put it in the AccuTuner. File, import. See, now we're bringing this file we're importing it into Piano Manager from the spreadsheet, which is an Excel spreadsheet. So we're going to, that's just, if I'm going a quick import from the export to PM. Okay, and there's the Boston that we just did. So if you want to see a picture of that, we can do that. And here's what that one looks like. Okay, and going back to the other piano, we can look at the Kawai. Oops. Okay, there's the difference between the two. Okay, now we got one more that I want to do here, and then if you haven't quit watching already, we've got this last one's a kind of a odd duck. Okay, this last one here is a Bergman. Okay, you'll get a kick out of this. Let me clear out these numbers, and like I said, the A4 numbers, everything is exactly the same on how this is arranged on my notes. This is a little Bergman Grand. It's a model TG150. Now, I think it's a Chinese, probably Samek or something. I'm not sure who built this. It was probably 5.3. I think, anyway, that might have been centimeters there. That might be the 150. Don't know. But anyway, it was a cute little thing. Okay, so I'm going to hit the clear button. That'll clear our targets. And here we go. I'm just going to kind of go through this. Minus 34.6. Minus 9.3, minus 2.9, okay, 1.8, 11.3, 4.6, 17.4, and you ready? 99. Okay, that's the triple octave 5th. Okay, you followed along with those numbers. You're good. Okay, so I'll leave that up for right now. So let's go ahead and copy that to our polygraph here, our polynomial graph. Okay, click these buttons. That'll give us a tuning. First thing I like to do is do the treble first. Okay, 4.6, not 4.4. Then here's 17.4, and then the 99 is correct. Now I'm also going to get rid of this tail. Oh, okay, here we can see I've started at 40.7, so let's see what I'm really doing sense-wise. Okay, so that's probably about where I'd put it. So 40.7, I moved it up right at about 2 cents. Okay, so now we're ready for the mid-range. We've got 5.2 and 6.9 is what I mapped, and that's pretty close, wouldn't you say? Yes, I'd say. And the third octave, 1.2 and 4 is what I want. So I need to go up a little bit, and that should not be too hard. Okay, and what did I do to that one? That needs to go up a little. 5.2, 6.9, I'll take it. Let me clear this up a little bit. Okay, let me make the base shape in there a little better. Again, the A's aren't moving, so this is all just getting the shape going from A1 down to A0 and from A3 up to A4 correctly, passing through my targets. So that's what these D sharps are, just brilliant. Okay, so we got 5.2 and 6.8, 5.2 and 6.9, my 1/10 of a cent, close enough. And we got 1.2 and 4. Again, very close enough. So let's move on. Okay, get into the round-offs. See if we can... okay, let's go ahead and expand our view. See, when I'm doing this in somebody's home, I just use my notes. I don't have that up on the screen, so I'm not doing all that screen finagling. In case you're interested in that. Now I'm going to go ahead and adjust that. I did switch a D and an E in there, so you want to look at what those were again, just to let you know it wasn't a huge change. Okay, we're dealing in the third octave here. So D3 is 1.2, and now it's still 1.2, and then E3 is 5 instead of 4. So we're good with all that. No one's going to hear that. Okay, so now let's go on up and deal with any round-offs we might have in the treble. Okay, no, this is nice, huh? Okay, very little work. And I'm going to go the other way. Oops. Cross the line. Okay, that's it. I suppose I could do something right here. I see those 2 9s and a 12, so I might be able to smooth that out a little bit. And let's see. Let's start here on the 5s. Raise those up. Okay, it looks better. And oh, so that 9 still could be up a little bit. Okay, now here's where this is going to be interesting. Look where C8 is, 145.1, and A7 is 99. Okay, so let's send this over to the AccuTuner, and this is a Bergman, so I'm going to abbreviate that, BRGMN. Okay, another test piano. So right into that database it goes, and let's go ahead and install that into the AccuTuner. So we'll put it in right there, file, import into the AccuTuner from that page. Oh, I forgot something. Okay, let's, I forgot to put a what is it, TG 150? TG 150. Okay, and let's add that piano to the database, and now let's put it into the AccuTuner. Let's get the, all right, and let's put it so we have a description of it. Okay, here's what that Bregman looks like. Okay, and there's the Boston, and all of these are in the AccuTuner ready to go. So this goes really quickly. Most of the time I'm not talking at all. I can get this done in minutes. But this is the fun part. And then, of course, if I had an AccuTuner connected, I would just find the tuner and send them over, and I'm ready to go. Of course, I do one at a time, too. But the fun for me, well, this spreadsheet's fun, but the real skill here is in the mapping. The mapping part is something that makes all the difference in the world, but the spreadsheet doesn't care. You can put almost anything you want to, well, you could put anything you want to in these targets. The only thing is you have to make sure you use the right partials. The whole lower end should be the fourth partials, and these are the fundamentals. So you can put those in there and follow this little demo to see where your tunings would go. And in fact, if you wanted to, you could tune a piano or two. Just find these targets, use your own tuner, and measure where these targets are, and then enter those into the spreadsheet. And of course, you have to use the right partials, but this gets rid of all your partial changes, and you can get a better idea as to I don't know how they sound. Anyway, that's how the spreadsheet works. So thanks for watching. Bye.